Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm David Vogel, Judge Executive. Happy to have all of you here today on the 21st of March, 2023. If you have a cell phone with you, please turn it off or vibrate. Well, everybody who's able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our county fiscal court clerk is Tara Long. Will you please call the roll?
Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Kevin Woosley, Greenwell,
Kevin Jeffries.
the wrong old list here. I apologize for that. Kevin Jeffries. Okay, Chris Hounds, Stephanie Hawkins, Bob Dye, Michael Logston, Judge Vogel.
Here, having all members of the fiscal court present, this meeting is now in session. A motion to accept the agenda.
Second.
Are there any additions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Now I'll ask Tara to please read the minutes from our last meeting, which occurred on the 7th of March.
March 7th, 2023. The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, Assistant County Attorney Tate Combs, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Kevin Woosley, Kevin Jeffries, Chris Hounds, Stephanie Hawkins, Bob Dye, and Michael Logston. A motion was made by Judge Vogel and seconded by Magistrate Hawkins to approve Tara Long as fiscal court. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the agenda as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Woosley and Magistrate Hounds, seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the minutes of February 21st, 2023 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Hearing public comment, Judge Executive Vogel congratulated Tara Long, Fiscal Court Clerk, for reading the minutes. Larry Kaiser of 3000 Maple Leaf Drive in LaGrange requested Fiscal Court meet in the evenings so the public can attend. Judge Vogel responded to Mr. Kaiser's concerns and questions, and Mr. Kaiser responded. A bid was opened for household hazardous waste collection contractors. The following bids were for the household hazardous waste collection were opened and read. Clean Harbors of Norwell, Massachusetts, $39,665 for 350 cars, with an additional $91 for each additional car. Environmental Enterprises of Cincinnati, Ohio, $34,000. MXI Environmental Services of Abington, Virginia, $29,750. There was an additional bid open for storm sewer improvement, repair and drive. All-terrain paving and construction of New Albany, $105,636.16. Libs Paving Company of Floyd Knobs, Indiana, $85,000. Louisville Paving of Louisville, Kentucky, $108,000. The bids will be reviewed for future recommendation. Motion was made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Jeffries to approve the payment of the payables as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Second reading of construction site runoff ordinance. County Engineer Jim Silliman presented the second reading for ordinance KOC 23-830-325, repealing and replacing and establishing regulations for the control of construction site runoff of pollutants and sediment to the streams and waterways of Oldham County. The following spoke and/or asked questions regarding the proposed ordinance. William Douglas, Chair of Oldham County Stormwater, spoke in favor of the ordinance. There being no further public comment, the public hearing was closed. Motion was made by Magistrate Hawkins and seconded by Magistrate Dye to adopt ordinance KOC 23-830-325 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Law Enforcement Services Incorporated were presented for a contract for pre-employment assessment. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Woosley to authorize the judge to sign the agreement with lessee for the pre-employment assessment as submitted. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. The Aquatic Center remodel contract. A motion was made by Magistrate Woosley and seconded by Magistrate Hawkins to authorize the judge executive to sign the agreement with W Principals LLC as submitted. Motion carried 8-1. Magistrate Dye voted no. Magistrate Reimbursement Resolution 01-03-07-23. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Dye to adopt Resolution 01-03-07-23, authorizing reimbursement of specified expenses to magistrates. Discussion followed. Magistrate Hounds and Magistrate Dye agreed to amend the motion to include the following. Strike reimbursement will not be made for the cost of entertainment or alcoholic beverages. Exceptions to this may be approved by the judge executive in Section 5. Replace Finance Committee with Fiscal Court. Replace Conference with Event and remove 30 days prior to conference in Section 4. Add Section 7 to state if a magistrate signs up for a conference and does not attend, shall reimburse the county. The county judge would handle all exceptions to this. And replace shall with may and replace 100 miles with 50 miles in Section 3. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Hawkins to table Resolution 01-03-07-23. Motion carried 5-4 on a roll call vote. Magistrate Likens, Magistrate Jeffries, Magistrate Hounds, Magistrate Dye voted no. Dispatch salary schedule. Magistrate Hounds presented information to the court regarding an increase in pay for Oldham County Dispatch. Motion was made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Woosley to approve the dispatch salary schedule as submitted. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Personnel actions and board appointments. Parks and Rec. Motion was made by Magistrate Jeffries and seconded by Magistrate Woosley to rehire Kevin Reyna Padilla and Cecil Slayton as seasonal laborers at $15 an hour, effective March 11th, 2023. Motion carried unanimously. Dispatch Emergency Management. Tina Schaaf, Director of Human Resources, announced the resignations of Lacey Reiber, effective February 22nd, 2023, and Gerald Naut, effective February 28th, 2023. During public comment, Judge Vogel recognized and commended the service of Gerald Naut during his tenure as Emergency Management Director, wishing him the best in retirement. Sheriff Tim Wakefield presented the Sheriff's Office February activity statement to the court and responded to the questions. Magistrate Jeffries expressed appreciation of the presence of sheriff's vehicles throughout the county. Announcements. Magistrate Woosley announced Public Safety Week and thanked Gerald Naut for his service to the county. Magistrate Jeffries reported that FSA Farm Service has resources that could assist those affected by the March 3rd storm. Contract Tracy Johnson at the FSA office. Thanked Jailer Jeff Tyndall for the recent tour of the jail and inquired about storm debris drop-off and pickup. Magistrate Hounds congratulated Gerald Naut on retirement and stated the next director will have big shoes to fill. Recognized County Emergency Services for their great work relating to the March 3rd storm. Expressed gratitude that there were no reported loss of life during the storm. Reported LG&E had a goal of full restoration of power to the county by 11 p.m.
No, keep going.
On March 8th, 2023, expressed gratitude to the crews restoring services. Magistrate Hawkins thanked the Road Department and Emergency Services for their response to the March 3rd storm. Magistrate Dye expressed thanks to the tour of the jail and stated it was a wise investment. Shared that the recent storm is a great example of why increased wages for dispatch, police, and emergency services are warranted and another great investment. Magistrate Logston thanked District 5 and County Road Departments, LG&E, line workers from throughout the state for their long hours and commitment to service restoration, expressed hope that power would be restored to the county soon, and encouraged the public to be patient. Judge Vogel reported that the county will likely continue continue summer programming with YMCA since the pool renovation will not be complete for this upcoming service. Motion was made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously, and the meeting adjourned at 4:02 p.m.
For the reading of our minutes from March 7th, is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Are there any corrections? There actually is one on the motion to table the magistrate's reimbursement. I voted. You have it. The vote is 5-4 here. We have 4 magistrates voting no, but the vote was 5-4. I also voted no. All right. Thank you. All right. No other corrections. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Time now for public comment. That's the time during our meeting when anyone who would like to address the fiscal court with an issue is able to do so. Is there anybody here today who's come to do that? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment, and we're going to invite our superintendent of schools, Dr. Jason Radford, who is here today for the first time before the fiscal court. And Dr. Radford, we're very happy to have you here, and know you've brought some things to share with us, so welcome.
Thank you, Judge, and Judge Vogel and the fiscal court. Appreciate you all having me. It's certainly unique for me to be on this side, so I always have a chance to be able to speak and talk with you all as county leaders. We think this is really important for education. Oldham County Schools is a key pillar within our community. I think it's important as county leaders, everyone's informed of the work that we're doing, because education we've had our challenges with staffing, with recruitment, with retainment, and our parents and our community want us to have the very best for our kids. And so really the purpose of this is just to be able to share with you the work that we're doing and where we want to go, and working with our Board of Education, and for you all to stay informed and certainly answer any questions that you might have. I have several slides. I'll try to go at a good speed. Certainly can take any questions that you have. Do I get to the Yes, thank you.
Up and down.
Thank you. All right. So first, I'd like to just share and want to just say a big thank you to Judge Vogel and to you all as magistrates in our fiscal court, because and with our health department, we partner with you all. You all provided us a pilot year to work with Care Solace. What we heard from our counselors and our school leaders and our teachers and our parents in our community is that there was a gap. We could not provide the supports for trauma, for mental health, and the needs that we were having. We were seeing students and even family members that were not getting their needs met. So as a result of that partnership, which we think is really important, I also really want to share with you all that so many other school districts from within Kentucky and outside of Kentucky have called and asked, well, what's the partnership? Describe and talk about that, because we were the first ones to do that. And so I think that's a big kudos to you all in trying to bolster and elevate our level of support for our entire community. So I'll just kind of share with you a few things. As you can see, you have, I think, available to you, but this took off like a rocket when we started it in about November, that we had lots of inbound calls and information being shared with counselors, with parents, with students. I want to just highlight a couple of things with you. The top 5 schools who have utilized Care Solace the most, and that's happened across our district, but just the top 5 you can see are South Middle School, South High School, North Middle, LaGrange, East, and OCHS. And those numbers represent students. Really, to put that in context, these are the students that our counselors could not get to during the day and wanted to provide some support and service. And this has happened as a result of the partnership with you all. Who is using the resource? You can see there in terms of age groups and gender and ethnicity. This data is provided to us from Care Solace. You can see what is for, or what is the reason that they're using it. Anxiety and depression are the top 2. Insurance providers, this kind of really keeps us informed at the district level. But I want to just kind of highlight a couple of some feedback, some anecdotal feedback our counselors have said about what kind of investment or what are our return on investment and the support that we're providing. Parents have commented that this service has helped with finding a therapist, alleviating stress and frustration from the process. The data dashboard allows our team to see when a student has been confirmed for an appointment, attended an intake appointment, and without constant follow-up with the family. One family reported it's the first time they've ever found a provider their child can connect with. So I would just kind of just share with you from a contextual standpoint, Care Solace as a reminder is like an Uber. So students or parents need some support. It will provide an Uber. It will get them to and try to facilitate that support that we're not able and try to help close a gap with when it comes to service. Some other feedback, they really want us to how we can improve is continue to advertise that more, work with more in-person options. People like face-to-face and trying to connect them within the community or within the region, and have suggested that it would, they really want to make sure once you make the connection, there's a lot of follow-up to make sure that they get the service and the support that they needed. So I'll just kind of pause right there before I give you an update about our district. Are there any questions that you all have about Care Solace that I can maybe answer at this time?
Nation Hawkins.
Said that it's also for families, not just students. How does a family then access it or know about it?
Is happening through at the school level. Our counselors are making students and families aware because they are the point person, the boots on the ground, if you will, if anything that we might know, or they are the first people to know that families are in need. I think as we try to, again, a pilot how we can, that would be a next step for us, is how we can make that more widely available and continue to advertise or connect, because we wanted to pilot this to see how it would go, because we could not afford to put more counselors in every school and give our staff raises. So I think to answer your question, we still have work to do with that.
Currently, a student has to sort of take that home to their parents and share it with them.
It's available on our website, and our counselors have that information that they can share with parents. But in terms of if there are parents who may not even have contact with the counselor, I think there's opportunities for us to improve that connection.
Mason at Jeffries.
Dr. Redford, how many grades can participate in this program? Is it 1 through 12, or is it all the grades, or?
It's available to our entire school district. Sir.
And it's do the students self-identify, or are they referred by counselors who are already, let's say, at the capacity level of how many people they can handle?
So it is really the counselors are the conduit to help facilitate that connection, and oftentimes it falls to students or families who may have reached out and wanted some help, and that maybe something's happened at the school level, it's a crisis or an emergency, that then we can provide that communication to the student and to the family or parents. This is an option for you, because we have to, many times our counselors have said, we have worked and lived through something that's just been crazy in terms of the pandemic. How do we provide that support so that's in time and just in time? So that's how we've approached it thus far.
And it appeared from the graph that two, let's say, old-fashioned problems are still the leading problems: alcohol and depression.
Anxiety and depression are the top two that we see in terms of need.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you. I don't want to speak for the health department. The health department has been very supportive of the program, and actually has, their budget hadn't been passed, but I think Mr. Rhodes is recommending that additional funds be allocated for Care Solace from them to try to extend the service to other people in the community beyond the school board.
Yes, Judge Vogel, that is correct. We've had several conversations, and he is very much interested in doing so if that could come to fruition. So we're excited about how we could provide that level of care and support, and not just limited to students or parents just within our school system, but also community. Okay, I will move on if this is a good time. I just want to share with you the Board of Education asked me last year, May or June, they did my evaluation, and they asked me, Jason, what are our priorities for the 22-23 school year? What's our focus going to be? You'll hear me talk about strategic planning here in just a moment. So for this current school year, these were the 4 things that we have focused on, and we provide an update to the board monthly about our progress around these 4 things. We want to focus on world-class learning opportunities, just good teaching and learning when it comes to reading, writing, math, science, just the core subjects, and be able to get students what they need when it comes to those opportunities. Revenue and expenses. You all deal with that on a monthly basis, I know, but how do we handle, what's the budget process? Because we have to be able to manage revenue and expenses. I'll touch on that in a few moments. Systems of support. We could put several things here, but strategic planning, as I mentioned, we'll talk a little bit about. We want to develop our leaders because we think everyone in our system is a leader, but we want to have a clear pipeline for that, for development. And then employee engagement. Someone much wiser than me said, I heard about 8 months ago say that used to when we started working, I remember when I started as a teacher, I signed my first contract. And the expectation was, now, Jason, go prove yourself. Let's see what you can do. We're making an investment in you. And now in 2023, the organizations that come out of this craziness that we've lived and worked through are going to be those that prove themselves to the employees. And so that's what we've been trying to do. And then culture and climate. That's always at the forefront in terms of having a great culture and climate. How do we accomplish those things? Strategic planning and budget committee are 2 of the big work groups that we've had to help move that forward with those 4 priorities. Strategic planning, we think this is really important because we need to outline what our vision is for the future, what our values are, and what our objectives are for the next 5 years. Where are we going? And the best visions are those that are shared visions. The best values are those that are shared, not just from the superintendent down to a teacher in the classroom. So part of that process has been we have conducted lots of forums with employees, families, students, and community. And so that being said, you see pictures there, meeting with students, meeting with community members, meeting with parents, just to get their voice about what are their hopes and dreams for our school district. What are the words that they want? When you're in Kroger, when someone says Oldham County Schools, what words do you want someone to use when they describe the school system? You all have had students or your own children in our school system or currently have grandchildren or know someone who does. So part of that, just to kind of keep that moving forward, we met with face-to-face with 277 people. You can see who those folks are there. We asked the following questions. I just kind of really briefly touched on that. And so strategic planning starts and ends with our Board of Education, and we've tried to maintain consistency and try to model what a good process looks like. Next, I want to I'll ask the fiscal court just really briefly. And before I do, let me give you some context. We surveyed lots of folks, parents, employees, and students, grades 6 through 12. So we had just over almost 3,800 parents and caregivers respond to this service, and not quite 3,800 parents and caregivers respond to this service and experience survey within our school district. We surveyed all of our full-time employees. We have about 1,500 employees, so we had almost 100% employees respond, and we have almost 6,000 students grades 6 through 12 that had almost 100% response rate. Which one of those groups do you think gave us the top response? Was the top of the 3 groups, which one had the highest response rate for their service, experience, and support they received in our district? And which one was the lowest? Parents, employees, or students? I'm just curious. We've asked our employees the same question. Which group you think gave us the highest mark? All right. Which group you think gave us the lowest?
Employees.
See if I can. Let me see if I can change it up here. So parents gave us the highest rating. Students gave us the lowest. And so then our principals are working hard to be able to try to understand and how we can provide that grow and just improve that. So 5 was the highest rating you could get. Parents gave us 4.02 out of 5. Employees 3.81 out of 5, and students 3.59 out of 5. So our next steps is really just to kind of really dive into that. And so then we want to create that framework for how we're going to move forward. And our Board of Education has approved for us to work on branding and rebranding and marketing. When we think about logo, we think about tagline, we think about being able to really think about the future and build some momentum for our school system. All right, so let me kind of get into budget just a little bit. I want to touch on this in terms of how we examine our expenses and revenues and plan for moving forward. What you can see on this slide is something I want to just draw your attention to about local revenue versus state revenue. The school district receives the majority of a larger portion of revenue from its local tax effort. And so then we also get, and that's about 55%. The state provides about 43% of our budget through the SEEK formula. So that kind of gives an idea about how we are funded and the percentage that it comes from. The other revenue is primarily grants that we get for students with disabilities and federal grants that we receive. Now, where do those costs go? What do we spend our money on? So you can see on that screen there, salary and benefits drive almost right at 82% of our cost. And that is the same, I would assume, it's really the same for every organization. I won't speak for you all at the fiscal court in Oldham County, but then you can see about the breakdown in terms of what is, where the other expenses go. We have been asking really hard and fervently with the state legislature, the General Assembly, to provide 100% funding for transportation. They only provide us about 68%. That's about $2.5 million that our school district has to dip into the general fund to offset those costs. The state used to provide transportation funding at 100%. They no longer do that. That's really important for us. So I just put that there for you all to have some context. Salary and benefits is the big driver for our cost. When you look at what happens at the district level, only district administration is just over 1%, 1.4%. Operations and maintenance to the lights, gas, diesel, all of those things is 4.5%. And those costs have been going up and they've kind of leveled out some. All right, next slide is something I want to just kind of share with you I think is really important. We have to continue to find ways. We cannot rely on the state to be able to, whether or not they're going to increase funding for public education. We have to be active. The Coast Guard teaches people to be active members of their own rescue. So we have to be able to do everything we can to support, recruit, and retain our people. So the first thing you see there is we consolidated or did not fill district positions or district itinerant positions at a savings of about $550,000 to $600,000. Those are actions that we took this year heading into next year. We also changed the student-teacher ratio by 1 with a savings of just over $1.4 million. The reason that we're doing that is so that way we can be able to be positioned to be fiscally responsible, to have a solid budget, and to be able to give the best raise for our staff across the board. So let me just kind of point to the state ratio for recommendation. I prefer not to be having this conversation with you, but we want to be transparent. The state recommended that at K-3 for classroom teachers, this is not office aides, this is not aides in the classroom, this is not teachers who teach students with disabilities, this is just first, second, third grade teachers, sixth, seventh, eighth grade teachers who teach math and science, okay? Just those groups of those folks. K-3, the state recommends 24 to 1. Fourth grade, 28 to 1. 5 through 6, 29 to 1. 7 through 12, 31 to 1. Oldham County does not fund at that level. We are well below that across the board. We increased it by 1 for next year. At K-5, we increased it from 22.2 to 23.2 as you're looking right on the right side of that piece of paper or your screen. 6th through 8th grade, we increased it from 22.6 to 23.6. Grades 9 through 12, we increased it from 22.9 to 23.9. We did not touch the monies that we allocate to schools. So I'm happy to share with you that our schools did not reduce, very few reduced the number of teachers for next year. But by doing this one move, it allowed us to be able to have provide a salary increase to our teachers next year, and I'll talk about that here in just a moment. So this is not something that we can continue to do every year, nor are we going to try. But we're trying to be very strategic, efficient with how we are working through our budget. So our board took action to retain and recruit high-quality staff. Let me share with you what those things were. Our board approved a 2% pay increase plus STEP, which is essentially a 1% experience-based increase. So over the last 2 years, including the STEP increase, we have done a 7% raise for our teachers and our staff across the district. That is almost historic for Oldham County Schools to do that in a 2-year period. When you look back at what's action that our board and our district has taken over the last 10 years, for example. Time for teachers to develop their craft. We're providing 2 professional development days, 3 teacher work days, and proposing that we move to having 6 early release days. What this does is it gives our teachers time to work collectively and individually in their groups and teams without students, to be able to support each other and individually for students in the classroom and their learning. All right, so next thing I wanted to share with you is the benefits that we're kind of trying to pull all this together. Our board approved free tuition for any full-time staff member's student or child to attend our district, convert unused personal days into sick days. We had some different rates where we were providing extra duty for certified teachers to do work outside of their contract, and we really tried to solidify that at $35 an hour. And then we provided a 5 to 10% salary increase for our entry-level positions, custodians, classroom aides, and monitors. Those are some of our hardest to fill positions. So they are getting a 5 to 10% salary increase with the actions that I just shared with you previously. Staff who seek advancement above a classroom teacher will no longer receive a pay reduction. We had some administrators, teachers who wanted to be assistant principals or assistant principals who wanted to be principals that would not had taken a pay reduction because of our system. So we worked to fix that. In order to do that, I've asked our district leaders to be able to do more so that way we can benefit the greater good. We guaranteed an interventionist at each elementary school. We reduced the amount of time it takes for full-time employees that earn vacation days. And this specifically is for our folks who are plant operators, office managers. We've had turnover in those positions, and we have had a hard time filling those people. So if you imagine when the power goes out, how do I keep a pulse on what's happening across over 20 buildings in our district? We have plant operators who work year-round. But when those people leave and we can't fill them, it is hard to keep a pulse if there were to be an emergency. Other thing that we've shared with everyone widely is investigating the coverage of the 1% employee tax for our employees who work within LaGrange. We want to try to offset that. I say that just out of understanding where the community is, and that's not my intention of whether we should or shouldn't. I'm not suggesting that be a conversation, but this is something our employees have spoken about. So we're trying to be very mindful and intentional about that. So investigating, no action, but we are investigating that. Last thing, I think this is my last slide. I told the judge, Judge Vogel, I'd try to be efficient with your all's time because I understand about you all have a lot to cover today, I'm sure. Facilities. Our district facility plan has been approved by the Kentucky Department of Education, and so we just received that back. We currently, if you drive by Oldham County High School, or you are on the north end and you drive by North Oldham High School, they're having turf installed at their 2 football stadiums. House Bill 678 allowed us to use restricted funds to support our athletics, where in the past we were not able to do that. So it has given us flexibility. So we want our district facility plan to be able to come to life and use those restricted funds across our district to help support academics, the arts, and athletics. So we're trying to work really diligently to be able to provide that. Now, when I say supporting academics, arts, and athletics, that's from a facility perspective. And when I mention restricted funds, if you see, and we shared this with all of our staff, that we cannot use restricted funds to give a salary increase. It can only be used to pay debt, only be used to renovate, to build new, for when it comes to facilities. So that's really essentially all the information that I have. I just really appreciate your all's time and being able to let me share with you about where we are and where we hope to go, because our community partnerships and working together is just really essential for our community.
Dr. Radford, appreciate you being here today. And in the, let's say, vein of transparency, I'm going to risk putting you on the spot here with a few of our members, maybe myself. People ask me questions about fiscal court. I can't answer them all. It's too complex. School board has more complexity to it maybe than we do. So, but if there are questions, I'd love to have you answer them. And Measure Hounds.
Always been a conversation about taxes that are collected, and then I refer to it as the franchise fee that you have to, the SEEK funding that you pay to the state. Show the percentage of what you receive. What's the percentage of revenue that you pay out? Is it a 1-for-1?
So part of the SEEK formula requires every school district to do what's called a 30-cent local effort. So in turn, you look at property assessments and what those assessments are for each year. Really, you take that times 0.30, and that will tell you what the local effort happens for the SEEK, what's required as part of SEEK. So because Oldham County has traditionally and has and continues to do well with property, when it comes to real estate, property, and our rooftops, as an example, in our county, that because of that, we receive less monies from the state, and we have to rely more heavily on local taxes. So 30-cent local effort is what is part of the SEEK formula in terms of that we have to contend with.
Sense of every dollar collected then, or is it?
If you take I'd have to go back and look what our county values were, but if, for example, our local effort has increased about $1 to $1.1 million each year the last 6 or 7 years. So currently, our local effort is approximately $24 to $25 million.
That was the number that I've heard is 24, 25. Okay.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of confusion about the SEEK formula, and I think there's a significant feeling in our community that Oldham County pays for education in other districts beyond our own.
So we've worked really. I'll share this really quick. I know a couple of folks have some questions. Happy to do that. Take your questions. The couple of things is we worked really hard to try to establish and build good relationships with our legislators across the board in Frankfort. That's something that I try to do. I think it's worth noting that last year was a budget year, as we all know, in Frankfort. And when the legislature, General Assembly, said, well, we increased funding per student from $4,000 per student to $41,000. The next year, for next fiscal year, goes to $4,200 per student. That's not real money for us in Oldham County because we rely more heavily on our local tax revenues than we do from the state. So it's not really $4,100 that we get per child because our property values have been increasing. If that makes sense. SEEK is a complicated formula. I could spend a semester, and I'm sure you all, if y'all would like to, I will give you a sign-up sheet. We can do that. But it's also been around since about 1990. So I don't know that it will change in my tenure or my career, but that's something that we're working hard to try to do. Transportation is funded through SEEK. If they just help offset the transportation costs, that could help us be able to maneuver through some things much more efficiently and effectively, because all the monies that we save from the action, we're trying to give back to our people.
Measure Jeffries.
Dr. Redford, just a couple of questions on your staffing levels. Teachers, transportation folks, or whatever. Are those numbers improving? Are they looking better? Or where are you on staffing at this point?
So the number of drivers that we have for transportation, that has improved. It's gotten better. I'd have to get you an exact number, but we are not at the level that we were, say, 6 to 12 months ago. Meaning we were short several drivers, like 20 to 22 drivers there at one time, which is very, very challenging for us. We don't have near that number of openings, but we still don't have enough.
What about teachers?
So I will have a much firmer update as we're heading into the spring. I can tell you last year, by the time school had started, we had about 150 certified openings due to retirement, due to people moving out of state, or going to other districts. And by the time school had started, we filled about 120 of those teaching positions. So I'm proud of our folks because we have met with those 1,500 employees, with the exception of one group. We've met with them face to face. And so we've worked to re-recruit our own people. And the reason I think this is important is because all the information that I just shared with you all, we've shared with them. And we've listened to them. And that's not coming from my office, that's coming from our people. So we think that's really important.
Thank you.
Magistrate Hawkins.
You shared about expenses, and there's chatter about some of the things that have been, expenses that have been cut. Could you kind of clear the record on, there were programs for advanced students and also IEP programs. Have those been cut, or what are some of the expenses that have been?
So thank you for that question. We made some adjustments. I recommended to the board to make some adjustments with how we provide service, but that we did not cut service. So we're required by law to provide service to students who are in our primary talent pool, as an example. We're still providing those services. And so there was miscommunication that happened. And so we've really tried to be very open and honest about that. One of the pieces about some of those positions at the district level is that it also involves our people. So we've worked hard to try for them to be able to have positions or help them find something else that they may be certified for. But services, we would never cut service for any student because we don't want that. That's why we're here. We think that we've just restructured the service, but while also trying to provide a savings to support our employees.
Question, Judge. Your pie chart about revenue said that the revenue comes from local, state, or local taxes, SEEK, and then other. When we pay school fees, does that go directly then just to the school, or is that considered a tax revenue, or where does that fall?
It goes typically school fees go directly to the schools, and so depending upon what those fees are for, or earmarked for, it goes it's for that specific purpose. So those school fees should be what's advertised and what is collected. It should go to that purpose. So we've been working hard the last 2 years with our principals and across our district that we are using the monies that we collect, like for this school year, on this year's kiddos, and being really efficient with how we provide that support.
Magistrate Woosley.
But I'm really glad you're here today because this open line of communication really needs to keep going forward. We've worked very well between fiscal court and the school district on SRO program. We've recently given our police officers raises, and I'm assuming we're going to expect the same out of SROs when that comes up, that contract comes up. There are a few other things that we're probably going to be asking at some point, maybe some partnerships on some sporting facilities, more specifically parking around Oldham County High School. We've got kids that are parking at the park, walking back and forth across 146. I know that's going to change when 393 gets rerouted, and I'm sorry, walking across 393, but there's some issues there that need to be worked out that we're going to have to sit down and look at. My final question is the PowerPoint that you brought up, that you specifically said which of the three groups were more satisfied with the school district. Does that show you any concern that the top two that you really should be focusing on, which is students and staff, are number 2 and 3 on that list, and parents were more satisfied than students or staff?
So I'll take your first question first, Magistrate Woosley, and thank you for that question. I think we actually the judge and I had a conversation yesterday about how we could revisit, in terms of putting our heads together about. It wasn't specifically about parking, but everything's connected to everything about actions that I could take and to help alleviate some of those stresses when it comes to parking or traffic and those kinds of things. The other part of your question, and absolutely, when I met with our folks, that the only reason when you drive by when you drive through Crestwood in our board office, there's no students there. The only reason our district office exists, the only reason I'm standing in front of you are because of the 12,150 students in our school district. And it's bothersome that they did not give us the highest rating. And you're exactly right. We want that to be, they should be the highest. So I met personally with almost 100 students at our 3 high schools. And those were some of the best meetings I've had in my entire time here. And we asked them the same kinds of questions. And they're hungry. And they're ready to go. So that is our goal, is to change that.
Get back on something there, Judge? Can I just add?
Okay, well, go ahead.
It's lighthearted. Talking about the parking at Oldham County High School. When we look at that, I would request parking at South Oldham High School too, because my son walks from Walmart through the Kenwood parking lot up to school, and on rainy days I just take him. So maybe in the future.
Very much appreciate that. We have continued to try to find ways to alleviate that.
Measure die.
Thank you, Doctor, for being here today. I'm a former educator myself many years ago. So what I did
For your service.
I went from there to being a deputy sheriff, so there you go.
Okay.
When you were going through the chart and you were talking about you were adding one, increasing one, and some of the things you're talking about I remember from years back, and some things have totally changed, like the SEEK formula that wasn't around then. But when you say you were adding one student, correct?
We were going from 20, for example, perhaps 22 students.
Size. I think I heard you say that was a temporary measure.
That's not a temporary measure, but what our full intention is, we cannot continue to do that every year. That is an action that we took along with many other actions to help find ways to give our staff a salary increase that can support the reoccurring cost.
Increase would be more in the core areas, in other words, the basic things you have to have, not like arts and music and all of that.
However, I would just share that the Board of Education sets the student-teacher ratio, and so those allocations are given to the schools. The site-based decision-making council decides how to use those numbers. I don't make that decision. Our Board of Education does not make that decision. However, I would also just add, and I appreciate your question, is that after meeting with all of our principals, very few are reducing the number of staff that they have to teach 6th, 7th, 8th grade math, science, English, and social studies. But by us making that move, we've made room to provide a reoccurring raise to our staff across the board. So before we took any action, I met with all 1,500 employees to share that with them. So our principals have worked really hard maybe they've changed their master schedule. They've looked at their budgets very closely at how to maximize. So very few folks have lost a position, or we're really having a very minor increase in student in class sizes.
Schedule. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. So in other words, in your schools of like grades, the exposure to different things would be the same if it's at, I don't know the names of all the schools, okay? But elementary school here versus over there, they're going to have basically the same curriculum, whatever that curriculum may be. All right. And I understand you adding people or raising the class size. Hopefully there'll be something would come along down the road, because I do realize what you and Judge talked about, the we're not getting much money back as we're putting in, or we're a donor county, basically. And just be done with that. If they can come up with another way of doing it in Frankfurt. But the other thing is, I don't hear anything about it anymore. Maybe it's just quit. Do they still have lunch programs and breakfast programs?
We do. We still have those. Absolutely.
And,
one school that's participating during COVID or coming out of COVID. We had several more schools that were participating in free breakfast, free lunch, but then the federal government changed those requirements, and so we really only have one school participating in that program now. That's free breakfast, free lunch for our students.
Is it because of the demographics of the school? Free lunch and the free breakfast, for some kids. And I remember from I started first year of busing, so I know some of these things go back a long time. But the meal is probably the most important thing that you can get, because kids hungry, kids ain't gonna learn.
Absolutely.
I didn't have a good free breakfast.
Yes, sir. Appreciate your questions.
Well, certainly not within the complete control of the county government, but decisions made by the fiscal court and our planning commission bear directly on problems or opportunities, let's say, that come to the school board. You mentioned you had 12,150 students. How many additional students would you, let's say, have to reach before another school building would have to be built?
Well, Judge Vogel, I appreciate you asking that question. Everything's connected to everything. One thing I forgot, if I could come right back to your question, I forgot to mention this, and when I share with you all, our school district is funded on our enrollment from the 18-19 school year. Our enrollment this year is 300 less students than it was then. And the other thing that's taken into account is that means a loss of approximately $1 million in revenue for our school district. So we had to account for that. And really, where are those students going? We have a lot of students that are in homeschool. We're working to re-recruit those students and families back to our school district. Some may have gone to private school. Some may have moved away. But Judge Vogel, I appreciate your question about schools. The State Department of Education requires us, if we were to build, and I'm just going to give a hypothetical, I will make up this scenario. If we needed to build a new elementary school, if we do that and go through all of those steps, when we open that new elementary school, the other elementary schools, which we currently have 9, cannot dip below 85% capacity. So right now, the way that things are trending is that we would build probably a new middle school if the trend continues that way. But we're not there yet. We're down. That's why I mentioned 300 students less before COVID.
But if we were to jump up to, let's say, 15,000 students, you'd need a new school.
Sure.
A new school requires 60 to 70 staff members?
Depends upon enrollment.
But
yes, sir.
I guess the point I'm getting to is that education is expensive. The complaints, let's say, or comments that we hear are people think the ad valorem tax in our county is getting more and more severe, and decisions that we make here or in the planning commission can drive more or fewer students into the schools. We're trying very hard to broaden the economic base here, tax base at Oldham Reserve and Commerce Parkway, most of it along I-71, but we need those additional sources of revenue to help support our system, because everything that we get, the school system actually is the main beneficiary of anybody that comes in here that will employ people and provide a tax. So
that's correct.
I did also want to ask you that you didn't mention the Arts Center. I've heard that you're going to expand it, take it down, build a new Arts Center. Is that correct?
So our board is not taking action on that. Our new district facility plan outlines, puts in some of the top priorities, a new Buckner Alternative School, high school, which is connected currently to Oldham County High School. That building needs to be, those students in that program need a new facility. The Arts Center that's currently located in Crestwood, that facility is aging, and it's really not advantageous for us to continue to pour monies into maintaining the upkeep of that facility. So the district, the Board of Education is not taking any action on those things. The local planning committee, which recommended to the Board of Education for LaGrange to have a new facility, but those decisions about where, the size, all of those kinds of things are not been determined at this time. So we just received that final plan back a month ago.
Mr. Logson.
Thank you, Doctor, for coming. And you answered most of them, but have you all done any studies to see how the demographics are going to be for school kids? Is it going to continue? Or I guess my question is, have y'all done a study to decide if the county's going to continue to, and you don't know that, but are people having less kids? I guess I'm trying to figure out why the student population is going down instead of increasing, because everybody I move in usually has children. So is it because Oldham County's getting older and there are less kids coming in? I just didn't know if y'all did any kind of study as far as that. And the second question, Liberty Elementary, do y'all have any plans on what you're going to do to that school building at all?
Magistrate Loggs, I appreciate your questions. Our reduction in enrollment for currently in Oldham County is on average across the state. Majority of the school districts in the state of Kentucky have lost about 2.5% of their enrollment, meaning compared to 18-19, which is the same for us. We're about state average. The reason for that are multiple. I believe that for our school district is because of the COVID and the pandemic. I believe that once we make our facility plan come to life and we start kind of doing little tick marks on these projects to move our district forward, when we think about academics, the arts, and athletics, I think our students will come back because we have a lot of students that have withdrawn to homeschool. So we're working hard to get those students back. We rely on, when we do district facility planning, every school district looks at census data, and that primarily comes out of the University of Louisville. Oldham County over the next is projected to grow. The county is projected to grow don't quote me on this, 46% over the next 30 years. So we're going to grow again. So really what we're really trying to do as a school district is be poised and be ready for that growth. Meaning we have some aging facilities that we need to renovate, replace, or renew, so that way we are poised to be able to handle the growth when it happens. That's essentially what we are trying to do. You have one other question. Liberty. The plan for that building to come down. That is in process, although it's not actually started on the ground.
We'll say that they have a staff member, Michael Williams, who does those demographics. He looks at live births. And pre-COVID, he was about 98% on his projections for the school district. So that they've got a pretty good handle on projections.
We appreciate you being here today. Appreciate taking the questions, and invite you to come back again in a year or something like that. I think we mentioned in the time I've been here as county judge, I don't think we've ever had a presentation from the Board of Education like this. We should. We all work for the same people in this county. We all have the same goals to make our county the best there is. And you mentioned at the beginning of your talk, could we pick a phrase or a word that would describe the Oldham County school system? And the phrase I would like to use is the best public education in Kentucky. So that's the goal, and I hope we can continue on with it. So,
love that. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time.
For being here. We'll go on to the next item on our agenda today, and that is the opening of the spring bid for paving projects 1, 2, and 3. We're going to have a number of papers to open here, so And so this is for Group 1. A second here. This is for, okay, got one big thing there, replacement of culverts on 18 Mile Creek Road. Mr. Wolfie, you'll be happy to hear that. Is that the only thing in that bid? Only one. 18 Mile Creek is it, all right? This bid is from All-Terrain Paving of $556,655.60. And we're going to have several bids, I think, for Group 1. Next bidder is Flynn Brothers, $625,311.68. Third bid is from Libs Paving, $693,334.25. Fourth bid is Louisville Paving, $554,240.23. Final bid in this group is Riverside Paving. No bid. No bid. All right, thank you for those bidders. We'll go on now to group number 2. Let's see here. Northridge Drive, work there. Is that the only thing in that one? All right. Northridge Drive from Highway 22, Ballersville to Northridge Circle. All right. First bid is All-Terrain Paving, $475,566.50. Second bid, Flynn Brothers, $321,822.85. Third bid is Hall Contracting, $378,164. Fourth bid is Libs Paving, $289,948.50. The next bid is Louisville Paving, $339,167.58. The next bid is Mack Construction, $318,568.25. The next bid is Riverside Paving at $349,374. The next bid is Wingham Paving, $296,430.70. Okay. All right, thank you to those bidders. Now we'll go on to group number 3. What do we have here, Jim? Is this all right? This is we're bidding this for Crestwood, working Crestwood. All right. All-terrain paving, $635,775. E&B paving, $156,522.
Say that again.
$156,522. That's yeah, right. That's a. I know. I read it right. Here's the next one. This is in context. Now here's Flynn, $152,128. All terrain. Did I read it wrong? Oh, wait a minute. We just had a lower bid.
What was Flynn Brothers again, Judge?
Flynn Brothers, $152,128. I read it. I don't always get them right, but I can. I know everybody falls over. The judge is out of his mind there. $158,247 for Hall Contracting. $158,247.50. All right, Libs Paving, $133,337.90. Might be our first bidder. Didn't understand what it was all about there because they're way off the mark. Here's Louisville Paving, $141,592.87. Mac Construction, $140,611.25. We're getting a lot of practice here opening envelopes. It's good. Riverside Paving, $154,386.
Spread's looking better.
What's that?
Spread's looking better.
Right, yeah. Okay, Wingham Paving, the last one, $147,281.80. Okay, everybody who had momentary, heart failure there, sit back and relax. I read it right. Okay, thank you.
Would like to come back later and after Ben Kimbler and I review these, potentially award to the 2 county projects. The Crestwood would be at their own schedule.
All right, that'd be fine. Next on our agenda today is a excess fees from a county clerk.
Just a quick update before I turn over this excess fee check. Just to bring everyone up to par, our voting plan for Oldham County was approved. It was about 3 weeks ago. So that was approved. We will have 9 voting centers. And Tara, can you flip it over to the... So we will have the same 5 voting centers that we had last time, but we are adding LaGrange Baptist Church, St. Aloysius Church, Crestwood Baptist Church, the Sojourn Church North, which is on Highway 42. So those are the 4 additional locations that we will have. And thank you, Judge, for having the update for the need for election workers put on the electronic billboards. I did get some feedback from those of people that are interested in becoming poll workers. So we will utilize that in the future when it comes to early voting, that information, as well as the locations for election day. But just real quick, I know you guys have been here already for a little bit. For absentee ballots, that opens up very soon. That opens up, steal it back, April 1st through May 2nd. So that is when people have to go online and request an absentee ballot. You would go to the govote.ky.gov to request an absentee ballot, and you fill out the questionnaire, see if you qualify for that. That is administered through the state. If it is, then we receive notice in our office, and then we'll send you that absentee ballot. There are 3 days for early voting, which will be May 11th. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, May 11th. All of these are at the John Black Community Center. It's from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. On Thursday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Friday, and 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday. And then obviously on Election Day, all the polls are open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that, and then we also, our e-poll books are in the process of being programmed right now, downloading all of the voter information. They are anticipated to ship by March 31st. So hopefully we'll have those in soon, as well as the other equipment that we have ordered to go to the print on demand function. So previously when you went to the polls, you would get checked in and they would pull a paper ballot, tear it off, and give it to you. What the process now will be is you'll still check in the same way. A receipt will print. It'll have a secure barcode on it. That barcode is scanned, and then it prints your ballot for you. We purchased a little over 100,000 ballots for the last election, and we only used 26,500. So 70,000 ballots we had to recycle or destroy, and then we have to pay for that, and then as well have that destruction certificate in our files. So it is a cost to go to the print on demand. We did receive additional grant money. It was around $190,000 to purchase the new equipment and convert existing equipment to go to print on demand, and we received a grant for little around $165,000. So it's going to only cost about $15,000 for us to go to this new process. So that's good news as well. You previously received, I don't think it was brought to fiscal court. I think it was just brought upstairs for the excess fee when the prior clerk, Julie Barr, retired and her account was closed out. It's not been closed out 100%. The process is we turn over our excess fees. We keep some money in the accounts. Once the audit is done, then we turn over the final check. So in August, fiscal court received a check for $411,595.42. I have a check today for $212,988.14. That's a total of $624,583.56 for calendar year 2022. So again, there will be additional fees that will be turned over once our audit is complete.
All right. Very good.
If anybody has any election questions, please let me know. Come see me. I'd be happy to help you.
Good luck. Did you get enough workers for the polls? Okay, great. Thank you, Amy.
Yes, we have enough workers for the 3 days of early voting. The deadline from the political parties was March 15th. And then I'm sorting through all of those to make sure, A, they're registered to vote, all of that, and they qualify to be an election worker, and then we'll have to sort. So a lot of people are accustomed to going to worker-wise to this. They've always worked at OCHS. With having so many new workers, I'm going to have to take the experienced workers and kind of divide them up a little bit. So we have experienced workers at each location as well as new ones. So some people will move around, but yes, right now it looks like that I will be okay on election workers for the May primary.
Right,
All
great.
right.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda here today is a report from our tourism director, Kim Buckler, going to bring us up to date on some activities of tourism. All right. All right. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to start in 23 by giving a quarterly update on tourism because there is a lot happening, and there's been a lot happening in the last year, a lot of good things. So I thought I would use this time. I was scheduling this back in January, so a lot has happened even since I scheduled it. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about in the packet you have, we can go through those pieces. These are new marketing pieces that have come about just since October. Wintertime is when tourism does everything on the back end, and we have all of our travel shows that set up everything for the upcoming year, all the marketing pieces. If you notice the first one, this one, the red one, this is our new tourism logo. We did branding last year and went from a bright, colorful, rounded logo to something classier now that people know who Oldham County is. So this was the first piece that we used the new logo on. So you'll notice a cleaner design and classier fonts and classier formats on everything as of October last year. This we've been working on since October. This is the map that we did for the county, and we did it a little bit different. I used to do these 8.5 by 14, and they were tear-offs and in the hotels. This time we had to upgrade to 11 by 17, so we wanted to still do it 4 color, so we did it like a brochure. And now that COVID is over, one of the things that changed was hotels don't want to have brochures in their lobbies anymore because of what they call touch points. So they needed maps. We still wanted to do the map. So this is a way to look like a brochure, but it's a map. So all the hotels will have this. All of the attractions already have them. I do a quarterly attraction networking meeting for just attractions and the owners of those attractions. And I just passed out cases of these. 10,000 went in 4 days, and we had to order another 15,000. So these are the newest piece.
These pieces here, were they paid for by businesses listed on here?
No, this was right out of tourism funds.
Well, I mean, how is it that some restaurants are listed and others aren't?
Like what? It could just, this is from October.
I don't see McDonald's.
Because we don't put chains. We don't do chains on tourism pieces.
I see KFC and Taco Bell.
Turning points.
Huh?
As turning points, where turns are made.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe you do have McDonald's on there. It's very light. I couldn't really. It's right across from KFC.
They're at lights and at turning points to get to other things. So there are some on there for that reason. This piece is our new group tour piece. This is the very newest. This is when we do travel shows that bring in motor coach buses. And we do those in the wintertime. So in November, I had 42 appointments at Travel South International, which is group planners and bus planners from all over the world come in to travel south. And this was the first time that it was held in Kentucky in history. So I participated in that, did 42 appointments. I just did another one 2 weekends ago in Cincinnati that was from northern states down. Had 23 appointments there. I just got, I leave this weekend for another one in Branson. That'll be the southern states up. Have 25 appointments there. So far have 32 appointments at another show in mid-April that will be in Huntsville, Alabama. So this is the 11 by 17 hole punched piece. This is for group tour motor coach buses specifically. And in all that, we as a region, I know I've said before, I'm marketing director for the region. There are 15 counties in the region. And I've been marketing director for probably 7 or 8 years now. These last 2 pieces are what I just finished for the region, and these go to shows with us as well. So if this brochure is in order by county name. So if you look on page 28, 29, this is our Oldham County spread. So when we redesigned this, we did it with QR codes so people could just scan these and go right to our pages. So on this spread, this was the last piece that our old logo was in. So you'll see the difference in the logos and the class of the logos. This page in this regional brochure, during COVID, we did a study in the county to see what we had that you couldn't get elsewhere in Kentucky. And that's what this 2-page spread is. These are what we call our only in Oldhams. So these are big marketing things when you're talking about marketing outside the Louisville region. So there's actually a page on the website too for these only in Oldhams. So if you're curious what we have that nobody else does, they're in this brochure. We also then redid the marketing piece for group tours for the region, and I'm the person that goes for the region to the shows as well. So this is the piece and how we compare to everybody else in the region, and you will see that this is Bourbon Horses in History is what our region is called, which again is 5 counties. So the other part that I wanted to let you know about was ARPA funds. We got EDA funds earlier in the year, but I was able to apply for ARPA funds, and there were 4 tranches of tourism funds for ARPA funds. And one of those, our region was given a designated amount of money to do marketing. And what we decided as a region was that we would do all of these travel shows. We would pay for all of the smaller communities in those 15 counties to be able to go to these travel shows. The individual communities had to pay to get there, their travel expenses, but the cost of being in the show, we decided as a region to cover that cost. So the smaller people like us could go, and we wouldn't be able to go otherwise. We just wouldn't have the money. For example, this show that I'm getting ready to go to in Branson, had I paid for that out of our budget, that would have been $5,000, just show expenses, not even marketing pieces or shipping everything there, just show expenses. So luckily for the region, we were able to get that. And as marketing director, I also represent the region at these shows as well. So that was a really good thing that we were able to do as a region. One of the things that I wanted to talk about as far as ARPA was concerned, there were 4 tranches. Kentucky Tourism was given $75 million, and I was able to work with David Osborne on getting this $75 million passed, and we worked, obviously, KTI, Kentucky Tourism Association. We had lobbyists that helped us get all of that done. So Kentucky Tourism, as an organization, was given $75 million. So then they had to figure out how they were going to help us with that, how we were going to get some of that money. So there were 4 tranches set up for that. One was Kentucky Tourism kept a chunk of it to obviously promote the state, and that was only like 15 of that $75 million was kept by Kentucky Tourism. The rest was divided into 3 other tranches or pots of money that we could all apply for, and we had to apply with applications and marketing plans and the whole bit. So there were applications that were sent in that did not get approved and did not get funds. So the tourism commissions in every community got a set amount of money based on a formula that they come up with, and we had to apply for those funds. So our tourism commission was able to get a grant of $118,000 based on our marketing plan for additional marketing that we didn't get in our normal marketing plan. It had to be something that we had never done before. The second tranche was meetings and conventions, and we didn't qualify for that, so I didn't apply. City Place would really be our meetings and conventions, and we didn't. The size of it didn't qualify. It was more like for Owensboro and Lexington, bigger places, and that was to attract meetings and conventions back to Kentucky, is what that was for. The other was what we call multi-jurisdictional grants. And what that was the state said, now you all work together and come up with projects that promote what you have in your areas for tourism commissions, what you have in your communities. Put projects together that would change the tourism industry in some ways. And there was a lot that was submitted, and not everything got approved. It wasn't big enough. So what I wanted to tell you was I applied for 5 different projects. The state gave out $1.7 million in grants, and we are able to participate in $1.5 million of that as Oldham County. Our projects were approved. And our multi-jurisdictional projects, when I applied for those, I tried to spread those around the county. For us, what we do is bourbon, horses, trains, and Underground Railroad history. So the grants that I was able to get approved with other commissions were a train trail grant that would be 5 communities across Kentucky that would promote the rail system and the train activities that we have in the county. That's Bowling Green, Bardstown, us, Woodford County, and McCreary County are all. There had to be a minimum, I forgot to say, there had to be a minimum of 5 communities that were multi-jurisdictional that would participate. So that one was 5 communities, Bowling Green, Bardstown, us, Woodford, and McCreary County, all having significant train attractions. And that grant was for $100,000. The second grant was a Black History grant, and this is communities surrounding Louisville area, including the Louisville area. This was us, Louisville, Shelby County, Bardstown, Shepherdsville, and E-Town. Those are the Black History grants. And this particular grant is $500,000. $500,000 to promote and design something significant for our Black history in the county. The other is what they call a horsepower grant, and that is a pillar of Kentucky or horses. So what they decided to do, there were so many requests in here, what they decided to do was kind of split that up in horsepower, meaning cars, being Toyota, Bowling Green, Corvette, and horsepower, horses. And you all have heard me say, hopefully you remember, we're the farm tour capital of Kentucky. And we have now 2 farms that are owned by Bill Carstangen with Churchill Downs that are our 2 newest farm tours in our program. So that horsepower campaign is a $250,000 grant.
We got that?
Excuse me?
Did we get that?
Yes, we're part of that one. Yes, all of these are multi-jurisdictional with a minimum of 5 communities. Yes. So then we have another one. One of the things by having Barn 8 here, that put us in a category that we've never been in for food and beverage tourism. And we promote that a lot, obviously. So we were able to be included in what we call a bourbon country that Garden and Gun magazine was really interested in. So they gave us this whole program where we're going to be using Hermitage Farm as our farm tour and Bar & 8 restaurant to get us in a food and beverage category. So we were able to get part of another $350,000 grant for that. The other grant that I applied for is called a Capital Tour, and this is the capital, all the capitals in Kentucky that have been verified and promoted by the state of Kentucky. So this is Hopkinsville, Owensboro, Moorhead, Lake Cumberland, Lexington, Oldham County, Paducah, Frankfort, obviously, Bowling Green. This grant is another $250,000. So we have, with these grants, we have a total of $1.5 million in grants that Oldham County is going to be part of. That is all brand new programs that we would not have otherwise. Now, there is a 10% match, and that 10% of each one of those, what it's going to cost us out of our pocket, Oldham County Tourism's budget, and we had to show proof of that in our marketing plans to participate. Our part of that is $20,606.
So in other words, we're going to get $200,000 from all of these grants.
We're going to get a total of $1.5 million in additional marketing programs for Oldham County by participating in these grants. And there was a 10% match. So depending on the number of communities that participated in each one of these grants, that 10% match was divided. So our part of that total for all 5 of these grants that we had to write a check for is $20,606 for $1.5 million in grants.
But what each county is going to get a pro rata share or equal amount of the total grant?
Each grant was filed for, say, the Bourbon Country grant, let's say, and there's 5 people involved in that grant. One of the 5 communities had to be the lead on all the paperwork and all the filing for the grant of everybody that we wanted to bring in and be accepted into the grant. There had to be one community who was the responsible party because we have all the paperwork to file afterwards and how we spent it. So each one of these has a community attached to it, with an affidavit by all of us in each one saying that we're going to pay our part. So we were then, each one of these now, as of last week, we got our last check as each grant. So now we can start getting together what we're going to spend. And we have until December of 24 to spend all of that grant money.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Something's not
complicated.
I'm just asking you, let's take what was the 5 grant that you just mentioned, the 5 participants, and what grant was that?
Let's take the Black History grant because I've paid for that one.
Pardon? Okay.
I paid for that one.
Okay, but how many people are in the grant?
There are 6 people in the Black History grant, 6 communities, 6 counties.
Going to get 1/6 of the grant minus its.
It's all collective. It's a project where we all come together. It's like the equivalent of the Bourbon Trail.
Okay, so you're going to generate a piece of advertising or something like that. Everybody's going to be part of the.
5 of those communities are going to be its own website, its own marketing pieces, its own promotions. So, for example, the Black History grant, that was $500,000 grant. By the time you took $50,000, the 10% of that divided among 6 of us, that cost tourism $8,333 to be in that $500,000 grant.
I understand that.
Does that make sense? It's complicated.
Maybe each place was getting its own money and doing what it wanted to do, but you're all doing something collectively as a group. I got you.
Correct.
Thank you.
So then those are things that we'll be able to promote after the fact. And the grant is the one that puts the programs together, pays for all the pieces of the programs for us to maintain after the grant money is gone, which is through December of 24. So what we there was $47 million given out in grants from the state of Kentucky, and of that $47 million, we are participating in 1.5 of that $47 million, or $4.7 million. It's confusing. The other thing I wanted to say is we're getting our financials and our reports from Kentucky Tourism as grant money comes in and applications come in. And in 2021, for just so you have perspective, for every tax dollar that we collect in Oldham County, our budget is based on $135,600 is what little we have. But for every dollar that we bring in for that tax, we're bringing in 21, we brought into the community $240.84 for every dollar we collected in transient room tax. And we just got our numbers for 22, and for every dollar of $135,600, we've brought in $307.51 for every dollar of that tax we're collecting. That doesn't cost anybody in the county anything. That's what visitors pay to the county. So those are our new numbers that we just got last week. So. And as these programs get done, I'll come back and update you as we get these projects done. So you'll get to see them. And
okay. Thank you. Kim, I think if anybody has any questions or anything, Magistrate Jeffries. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, just a quick question, Kim. Great. This is a great job. These brochures, I think, are really well done, and whoever put them together did a nice job on those. My question would be on all the grants that we are going to participate in or whatever. As far as accounting for that or whatever, is that the county's? Is that your all's responsibility? I mean, who has to account for and keep track of?
We do. Yeah, there's the groups that are involved in that. That's why you had one person to be the head person. They are responsible for maintaining all of our individual paperwork and everything. We have in our office right now 5 marketing plans that all have to be separate and different financials that we have to submit at the end.
Magistrate Hounds.
Some of these brochures available that we could, are they PDFs we could put on Facebook and on our website of stuff?
Yes.
Get some of those either to just
the brochure is even on the website. I think the brochure we have on the website.
These are really nice advertising pieces, really very attractive. I want to ask you one more question, and I think we probably need to move on. You have on one page in here listed the different attractions in Oldham County, the farm tours and artisan distilleries and so forth. What would you say is the single largest visitor generator among these right here?
Tours by far. By far. And we have 15, and we're getting ready to bring another one on. I've been working with them for 2 years.
One time we talked about, I don't know if we ever, a vehicle to transport these tours around. Do you have a vehicle yet?
No.
No. Okay. Any plan on how to get one other than from us?
No. No.
All right.
No, we do need one in the county. Obviously, we do need a shuttle in the county for a lot of other people besides me. And when that conversation came about, a lot of people came out and said we could use a shuttle. So it might be something that we all split the cost of.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right.
What about a 15-year-old Crown Vic?
That's good. I turned in a Mercedes.
Could we use the grant, some of that grant money for something like that?
Which is why we did the same ARPA things as you all got and couldn't do it.
All right. Thank you so much, Kim. Good job. Appreciate it. I'm going to beg the court's indulgence to jump ahead slightly here to item number C, OSEA assignment and assumption agreement of Harmony Lake and Dam. Horace Herod and Stan Clark have been, we're all going to be here till the end of the meeting, but they don't necessarily have to be, and they've already sat here almost 2 hours waiting for their turn. So, Stan, go ahead.
This is a continuing process of the dissolution of the Oldham County Environmental Authority, which, as you all know, was assets were mainly sold to MSD a couple years ago. We're in the final stages where the final assets and liabilities of OC are going to be transferred to fiscal court. And what we have before you today are documents that would basically where OSEA assigns and Oldham County and Fiscal Court assumes the assets and liabilities of OSEA, as well as then there's a deed. The assets or the transferred assets are limited. It's Harmony Lake and Dam. It's also some funds, about $165,000 that was an indemnification fund of cash to help do correction action plan that needs to be done continuing on Harmony Lake Dam. And not to rush it, but Harmony Lake Dam was a high hazard dam. 3 homes have been raised, and to lower that classification to get in compliance with Division of Water. There's some final things to do with that corrective action plan plus maintenance of the dam. That's being assumed. And there's one lawsuit that we think is going to go nowhere. KCO has agreed that they will cover it if it moves forward. That's the Wells versus OSEA case. And those are the assets to be transferred. And so the first agreement, and this has been reviewed by both our county attorney, and this was written by Wright, Tarrant, and Combs, is basically the assets are, there's an assignment and assumption agreement. I asked for you to give the judge permission to sign. And then there's the special warranty deed to transfer the Harmony Dam and Lake from OSEA to Oldham County Fiscal Court. That's in a nutshell.
Right. By acting on this, these 2 agreements, are we basically at the end of the Oldham County Environmental District?
Yes, they. The only thing is we have ran an ad last week in Oldham Air, basically stating that a fiscal court plans to administratively dissolve OSEA. And if we don't receive any written complaints or questions about anything that might change that plan, then 30 days from last week, I'll come back and fiscal court will administratively just dissolve OSEA. The only thing, after these assets are transferred, OSEA will basically be just a shell. No assets, no liabilities, nothing left. So then it'd be terminated.
No staff or chairman.
Yeah, they hope to have had the final meeting last week.
Right. Well, all right. Magistrate Jeffries?
Just a quick question. By taking this over, assuming the assets and the liabilities or whatever of this from taking it into the county, does that increase our liability? You know, say if the dam were to fail and you know, does that put additional liability on the county?
Yes. We will have to, in fact, be adding it to our insurance policy. There is, for that a dam, the risk of that dam failure causing catastrophic failure or whatever, and you know, has been greatly diminished. That's what the corrective action plan was to get rid of the high risk hazard. That's why 3 homes, and it's the path of the theoretical breach, if it happened, have been raised and removed, and nothing. Those parcels aren't allowed to be built on or do anything. So we basically have cleared anything that could be harmed. But there is liability of the lake more than the dam. People swim in lakes, get in lakes.
But I mean, we're assuming the liability also with that, but we're going to be adding that to county policy as far as the liability.
Okay, it's not, you know, we have a swimming pool that has that kind of liability as well.
Anyone else? Magistrate Downs?
I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what do you think the maintenance on that asset's going to be going forward? Any idea?
The main maintenance needed in the short term going forward is mowing, and then these trees like to grow up in there. They have to be removed. Right now, that's been running $10,000 to $12,000 a year. Then it seems like every 2 or 3 years you've got to do. You'll see that there's some erosion or something take a little bit more work. The main item that needs to be fixed on the dam is the spillway, but that's part of the corrective action plan. That's the primary purpose of the $165,000 cash that will be coming over to work on that plan. But yeah, just maintenance of mowing and keeping the dam in good shape is the future cost.
Are you guys using a mowing service in to take care of that? I'm assuming.
We've learned that, and Horace is better at this, but we've learned that mowing inside the dam, you don't want to slide your equipment into the lake, and so you have to have special equipment to do it. So we've been using a service that has equipment and is willing, to do that. It's not just simply mowing the top of the dam.
All right. Is there a motion that we go forward and accept this assignment and assumption agreement and execute these two documents?
I'll move that, Judge.
Second.
Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Is that for both documents, Judge?
That's what I think the motion was. Right.
I just want to make sure.
And is this, Horace, is this going to come forward here? Come on. Will you be coming back with Stan in 30 days here to announce the dissolution of the business, or is it sure are you going to be in Arizona on that day or whatever?
I certainly can. I don't think I need to. We've taken all the action that OSEA can effectively take with transfer of these assets to the county. So, as Stan said, we're just kind of a shell county. Entity at this point. I might mention that in my update to the state regarding the cap for the dam, I requested in the transmittal letter that they review the status of the dam. And I've gotten crickets back from them since. So, technically, I guess it's still classified high hazard by their system, but it's just because they haven't come and verified to themselves that those homes have been removed and we've done everything that we told them that we were going to do in that cap. So that should be coming. That's something to be looking for. And then I think I mentioned I thought we'd have about 150,000 left over. It's going to be probably 165. Yeah, something like that. So that'll help a little bit. Relative to the remaining items in the cap, the spillway is a big piece of that. We do need to put in a siphon system because the drawdown system there is inoperable at this point. But that'll be relatively small cost. The bigger issue is probably going to be what needs to be done to the spillway. It's perfectly, well, I'm not going to say perfectly fine, but the spillway honestly is seldom sees water. Maybe is how I should say it, because the level of that lake has gone down so much that I've been over there after some pretty big rain events and the water's not even up to the spillway. So there's water getting out of the lake, around it. We've talked about that before. So I don't see the spillways being a big issue, but I think what I would recommend is, and JTL has been the engineering firm that's worked with us on this, I would recommend before you do anything on the spillway to talk to JTL, maybe do a engineering design study with them to see just what they think the cost would be to kind of shore that up a little bit. And I think they would do it cost effectively. So I'll give that commercial to them if you don't mind. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I think we've done everything we can do at this point.
When were you first appointed or agreed to become chairman of this district?
2008, I want to say it was Judge Murner was the county judge executive, and I want to say it was June.
Something like that? Okay. Well, that's...
agreed to 4 years.
Agreed to 4 years. I know. I've been pleading with Horace to keep his job for the last 4 or 5 years here. Old Christian Marion from Oldham is sitting here. He doesn't really know. Thank you are just 2 words, but they don't begin to encompass or measure or reach the point of appreciation that this county needs to have and express for you. You have their public service doesn't get any higher than you have raised the bar to with the effort that you have made with this sewer district. I know you were. I've gone with you to Frankfurt, where you had to basically almost sit alone and face 8 or 10 other regulators on the other side of the room who questioned what we were doing with these package plants. And you got all these package plants offline. You managed those Veolia extremely well. I mean, you've done it all. You have managed our MSD agreement and worked with Stan and the other people you've had on your team, but you've been the leader of it. And I can't begin to express my own personal appreciation for you and what you've done here. And for all of us, we didn't have to do it. You did it. And
we had a great team, and Stan obviously was a big part of that, but some other good board members, and Viola did a great job for us. So it certainly wasn't just me. I mean, we just kind of.
Horace Herod carried this work around the country. In his briefcase, I'd call him and say something about OSEA. So where are you? So, well, I'm in West Texas. You know, the Farm Bureau business. He had this Farm Bureau folder and his OSEA folder wherever he went. And so, like I say, thank you doesn't begin to measure our degree of appreciation for you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate all the support of the fiscal court.
We read a request for a 5-minute break here, 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, let's try to start again at 4 shortly thereafter. Thank you. Welcome back to our meeting. Is there a motion to go back into session?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye. Next item here is bid award for Parent Drive Drainage Improvement Project. Jim Silliman, County Engineer, will discuss that project.
Thank you. So at the last fiscal court meeting, April 7th, you opened bids for this Parent Drive Drainage Improvement Projects. There appear to be, based on the bids that were received, 3 competitive bids. The low bid is a company that has worked for the county on various projects. So we consider them a low responsible bidder. The low amount is $85,000, and we do have that amount in the engineering budget for projects this fiscal year. So I'm asking the fiscal court award the Parent Drive improvement projects to Libs Paving in the amount of $85,000.
Judge, I'll move that we award that bid of $85,000 to on the Perrin Road project to Libs Construction.
All right. Any discussion on that? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, I don't see any opposition. Is Magistrate Dye satisfied with that vote?
Well, you're a little small on the vote.
Okay.
He said he's going to reserve his comments until.
We got to reserve his comments. All right. All right. Thank you. Next, payables, county administration. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion. We pay the bills.
Questions on the bills? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next is surplus property. Melissa Horn, please.
Three sets of items for you to surplus today for an online auction with GovDeals. The first set are 5 Crown Vics coming from our police department. The next set are, I think it's 7 forfeited vehicles or close to being vehicles, also from the police department. And the final set are some janitorial product dispensers that were left over after we changed suppliers. So all of those would be placed on GovDeals for an online auction.
I'd like to make the motion that we put those items on GovDeals.
Second, are there any questions about doing this?
Yes.
All right.
That whole place back there, all of it's down there.
Answer that.
So there's still more cars than what's on this list. If you're talking about the surplus police cars, it will make a huge dent. But if you're talking about the cars in the impound lot, at last count there was 14, I believe. So it'll take out half of them. So yeah, a huge dent.
They move out some, that's for sure. Yep.
You hear that, Magistrate Tice?
Yes, sir.
Half the cars are going to be gone down there at your parking lot.
Not half the cars, just half the police cars. We have backups to them.
Sorry.
What? There's.
Okay. Down into surplus stuff is very important, and I'm talking about the 14 dispensers. That's an important item that we surplus those type of items.
Oh. Sure, I'm following you. What do you mean by important?
Well, I didn't know if the values to those things were so small that it would be.
I believe that anything that I want to auction is supposed to be declared surplus by fiscal court.
Even if it's only a $5 item, we still surplus it. That's kind of what I was getting at. How far?
I believe so.
How much of that do we have? You know?
How much of what? The dispensers?
That's right.
There are 12 paper towel dispensers, 14 soap dispensers, 50 toilet paper dispensers.
Is that all in a big box or in a package?
It's all on pallets. Yes.
That's pretty good size. You put it all together.
Just a quick question. Let's move forward. I'm okay.
Right. There's really no easy way to get rid of it other than this.
A form of recycling, if you will.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions on this?
One comment. If you look at the, I think this is something that was the Finance Committee when I first term here, was we had raised the mileage on the police cars, max, the trade-in mileage. And only one car there is just under the, we had discussed, I think the number, you might remember, Wayne, it was 125,000 miles. We were wanting to get out of the cars before we surplused them out. It wasn't quite that near anywhere close to that then, 12 years ago. So apparently it works. That's all I got, Judge.
Yeah, okay.
Look at the mileage of those cars.
I haven't.
Not even close to what I was talking about, but that's okay.
No, I mean I was talking about the fact that we put a mileage limit on it. On the cars years ago.
I don't have the next item here.
Okay.
Maybe Tina can go get it.
I wasn't even resolution. Spencer's. Yes. Okay.
Didn't make it into my binder here.
Must have got lost as soon.
Tina. Melissa has one. Melissa has one, so that'd be okay. All right, we've got a motion and a second here to move forward with these this deals.gov auction or whatever. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's do it. All right, next item on the agenda here is the magistrate reimbursement resolution. Magistrate Howe.
So I don't know the parliamentary procedure, but it's on the table.
I have to have a motion to take this off the table.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to take this off the table.
I'll second that motion to take this off the table.
Second, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Proceed.
To the next phase.
Right.
So I sent this to the magistrates, got feedback from several, made the changes that were suggested, even some of my incorrect spelling. I had logging instead of lodging on number 4 there, but this was the document that went out Sunday, I guess it was, and I took the feedback from Monday and put in here, so it should be about where everybody wants it. Some people wanted to see a few other minor changes, but I think we met the goal and objective, and that is to create a level playing field or rules of engagement or whatever term that you'd like to use for those reimbursable expenses as it relates to mileage, parking fees, lodging, business cards is in there, and so on and so forth. So I'll make the motion that we approve resolution. We changed it, didn't we? There's not a resolution number. Wasn't there one on here before? Well, could we just call it the resolution of Oldham County Fiscal Court regarding reimbursement of expenses of incurred by the magistrates? I guess, Tara, if you can put a resolution number on it.
It's 130723.
Second that.
What was it, Kevin?
01030723. That's from the minutes from last month.
And I questioned, does it change, the resolution change because we're doing it on a different date?
That's what was used last month. So.
That's why I'm asking. I don't know the answer. Okay. Tina says she doesn't think it matters, so I'm good with that. 01030723. Okay. Thank you, Magistrate.
We're not reimbursing for logging now because that's going to change my opinion here.
Yeah. I know. Jeffrey's caught that one and said, what are we doing logging? And I said, no. Chris not being able to type.
All right, we have this motion and a second before us here on how to handle the cost of magistrate travel and meals, lodging, and so forth if they're out of the county for any length of time. Any discussion on it? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And I think this item is added to our administrative code, correct? Right. Be part of our administrative code. Right. Okay. Now we're at the committee reports and recommendations here. And Tina, do you want to come forward with these? Yes, ma'am.
Actions today. We have two of our part-time dispatchers are going to go full-time. It's DJ Herod and Amanda Miller. They'll be tele 2s at $28.24 an hour, and that's effective on the 26th of March.
All right. Is there a motion we move these employees to full-time?
So moved.
All in discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
And item for dispatch is a position change for Mickey Toll. She's going back to being a telecommunicator 2 at $32.02 an hour, effective on the 26th of March.
That motion.
Is there a second? All right. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And we have two announcements, two resignations or one resignation, one retirement to announce.
Yes, we have in the engineer's office, Rebecca Truman. She is leaving us effective on the 27th. And Vic Peak is retiring after 28 years, effective March 31st.
All right. Well, we accept this resignation and retirement and wish both these individuals the best. Vic has been with us a very long time and done a very good job. I certainly wish him well in retirement. And then Rebecca Truman has been with us here for several years and has done an excellent job with the Curry's Fork Water project. But she's moving on to higher responsibility in another project, and we certainly thank her for her service and wish her the best as well. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a appointment to the district board of the South Oldham Fire Protection District. I'd like to appoint Patrick Stess for a term to expire on June 30th of next year. He's replacing Clayton Raymer, who has gone off the board and is on one of our planning commission sub-boards. And my policy, wherever possible, is just to have one person on one board. There are a couple of exceptions out there, but not very many. So I'd like to ask that Patrick Stess be appointed to this board.
Are you making the motion? I'll second it, Judge.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on this? All in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I think we've reached the end of the meeting now, and we'll have a chance for our magistrates to... Guys, got the bids. Sorry about that. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, Road Superintendent Ben Kimbler and myself reviewed Groups 1 and 2 county paving bids that were opened earlier. With regard to Group 1, which is the 18 Mile Creek Road, and we'd like to note that the combined amount of both these together is within the budget that we have remaining for paving, and both bids are within the engineer's estimates that we had. So we consider both low responsible bidders. Again, for Group 1, 18 Mile Creek Road, I request the fiscal court award that project to Louisville Paving in the amount of $554,240.23.
All right. Is there a motion? Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Yes, sir.
How much of this overall project does this take into account? I know one time, and I haven't been to road committee meetings, but weren't we splitting it up amongst different stages?
This project includes about 19 culvert replacements and/or additions. It includes paving the entire road from 524 to 524. And then it also includes there's a stretch of guardrail that's being repaired, removed and replaced, that's leaning. It does not take into account bank stabilization that we've talked about in the past, which is going to be a separate item.
Pave the road before we do the bank stabilization?
Stabilization is off to the edge and in localized areas.
Think about if we were bringing trucks and stuff through there, then we might damage our pavement. Okay.
It's a consideration we looked at also, but we need to get this done now.
Thank you.
All right. I think we had the vote. You just had a follow-up. Got true now.
With the vote? Okay, I'm sorry. So the second one, then with regard to Group 2, Northridge subdivision, this is resurfacing of the entire subdivision and some small drainage work here and there. Recommend fiscal court award the bid to Libs Paving in the amount of $289,948.50.
A motion, we accept this bid. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you. All right, now we're at the end of the meeting, and we generally have a few wind-up.
I'll have one more.
Crestwood.
Crestwood's going to work that one out. I have a few comments here to close the meeting. Matt Logston.
And takes effect April the 1st. So I know there's a lot of trees down still. I don't know if we can extend that, Chris. Nope. Okay. So just need to make sure we get everything burnt up or cut up or whatever you're going to do before April 1st. So.
Thank you. Magistrate Dye.
Yes, Judge. I got two things. Well, number one, the retirement and the resignation. Ms. Truman did a really good job. She was really on the ball, very conscientious. She was here just a short period compared to the other person that would be Vic Peak. And, I get some phone calls. Vic was the drainage supervisor. I think that was his correct title. But, drainage problems are big problems in a lot of these subdivisions. And I've had people that have called me and I've turned them on to Vic Peak. And the people, when they call me, they're upset. And so I try to talk them off the ledge the best I can. And I said, talk to this guy. He'll help you out. He'll tell you what you need to do. I said, but I'm telling you now, we can't fix private property, but let him look at it. Let him make the call on it. And he'd go look at him, and those people would call back, and it was like he was a settling force. He could really, work with people, and he was he's going to be quite a lot. It's going to be hard to fill his shoes because he had such a unique way of getting something done. The second thing is, of course, I always talk about this, about people breaking into cars and stuff like that. I'm going to change my comment today to, for those of you that are old enough to get the AARP newsletter, there was an article in it about how they wash checks. And what they do, they come by your house to take your mail that's going out, out of your mailbox, when you got the flag up. They take the check and they take alcohol and they wash off what your ink pen was put on there. And they can say, well, that $200 light bill to LG&E is now $572 at Johnny L. Smith. And they endorse the back and they find somebody to cash it, and then you're out not only the LG&E payment, but you're out the difference. So I would like people to think twice before they put outgoing mail if it has important information like insurance or anything like that, and especially if you've got checks. Take it to a drop box. The post office has got them everywhere. So, but it's a situation. And one last thing, I just thought of this. There's been a couple of my neighborhoods, they've had people going through the trash on trash day before the garbage truck comes. They're digging down in it, and I don't think they're looking for something to eat. I think they're looking for important information. So protect yourself best you can.
What else?
was the only thing that I found. When you get old, you have to read stuff like that. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Magistrate Hawkins.
Wanted to reiterate that I'm sorry to see Becca Truman leave, and I got to know her through Environmental Recycling and Utilities Committee, and she's really taught me a lot. We've planted trees together, and I'm really going to miss her. She's been an asset to the community, so I wish her the best of luck in her future endeavors.
Magistrate Howns.
Thank you, Judge. What Magistrate Logson talked about with the burn ban, if you're going to burn something, please call dispatch. The number is 222-0111. On several occasions, and I think it was last night or the night before last, South Oldham was looking for a possible structure fire that turned out to be a controlled burn. We don't need assets running up and down the road looking for that stuff. To echo what some of the other magistrates have said about Vic Peak and Rebecca Truman, Vic is very good dealing with the public. 99% of the time, the people may not have liked what he said, but he delivered the message well, and they would always call back and say thank you for sending Vic out. I made a post on Facebook last Monday or Tuesday about fiber and got a lot of interesting comments and texts and different things. Somebody asked me, how did I know that it was fiber that they were running? Well, on the side of the spool, it says Corning. And Corning is one of the major distributors of fiber, and AT&T told us that they were going to be using Corning fiber. So it is coming. They still have until April of 2024, get my dates right, to complete the project. They have turned on some areas that were prior to our conversations with AT&T, but the judge and Magistrate Dye, Magistrate Logston, Magistrate Jeffries, we got to have lunch on Thursday with the president of AT&T. He told us then that the project is moving along very, very well, and that he doesn't see an issue with meeting the contract deadline. So hopefully people will have patience with that. If you have questions, people have asked, well, can you tell me when I'm going to be turned on? I can't. The court can't. We have some maps that we have been shown, but for proprietary reasons, for business reasons, they're not able to let us publish those maps. I hope everybody understands that. But we do have a status meeting with 2 weeks, Judge.
Next week will be next Wednesday. We'll be having our 1 year anniversary meeting, and 1 year down and 1 year to go. And we're optimistic they can actually achieve the result of the agreement prior to 1 year.
The last thing I'll leave with people is the time change. Some people are for it, some people are against it. Don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but there are a lot of people walking and biking and doing different things. Please be cognizant of that when you're riding through the subdivision streets and the crosswalks. You've got people walking on sidewalks and that. And also for the walkers, if you're wearing headphones, you need to be able to see the traffic. So try to do your best to maybe turn the volume down or whatever you have to do. But there have been a couple of near misses that I was made aware of, and just make people please be cognizant of when you're driving and when you're walking, because it's both folks' responsibility to stay alert. Thank you.
Thank you. Magistrate Jeffries.
So, just like to make folks aware and want to congratulate a fellow magistrate from District 8, Michael Lawson, was elected last Thursday at the Kentucky Magistrates Commissioners Association to a 2-year term of state president. So real excited for him, and I think he'll do an outstanding job representing us all across Kentucky, working with legislators and whatever. So congratulations, Michael. Thing I'd like to also congratulate Jane Ashley Pace, publisher of the Oldham Era, on being named the Tony Cotton Women of Distinction Award winner, and that award will be presented on Thursday, March 23rd at the Celebration of Women event at City Place. So congratulations to her. That's all, Judge.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Woosley.
Thank you. Today is World Down Syndrome Day, and 1 in every 800 babies are born with Down syndrome. wanted to acknowledge that. Saturday, April 1st, the city of LaGrange is having their Easter egg hunt at 9 a.m. at Wilburn Park. And we may be having a special called Parks Committee meeting on Monday at 10 a.m.
Measure Tice.
Have anything? It's been a good court. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
The burn ban is May 1st, not April 1st.
May 1st. Okay, thank you. Several things that I would like to mention have already been mentioned, so I won't go into any detail about them. I would like to express the court's sympathy to Mrs. George Rawlings on the passing of her husband. There's been obviously things printed in the paper and online about George, but he was a good person. He did a lot of good in our community, did a lot of good around the world. George Rawlings has walked to the sound of the gospel, and his footsteps are found all over the world. So our condolences to Mrs. Rawlings. Best of luck to Vic Peak. Some things have been said about him. Vic has been a tremendous employee for 28 years. He's had to leave because of health issues, but I hope that he's able to recover. Vic has been a great guy, and earlier I said thank you to Horace Herod. Also, thank you to Vic Peak. He has represented the county well, done a good job for the citizens of our community for 28 years. Bob Dye mentioned something about fraud there a little bit ago, and we are actually planning a fraud and scam sort of a seminar presentation for later this spring to help seniors understand some of the things that get thrown at them and to try to help them avoid problems like the one Bob mentioned. Mike Meese from our Sheriff's Department is going to participate in that. We have the Kentucky Attorney General's office to participate in it. And we're also lining up some other speakers and information that we hope will be useful to the seniors in our community, and we'll be announcing that. And congratulations to Mike Logston. Proud to have you as president of the Magistrates Association, Mike. Good job. Also, the last thing I'd like to mention here is that a week from today at 2 p.m., in front on Main Street in LaGrange, we'll be having the groundbreaking ceremony for the Oldham County Courthouse. Courthouse is already underway, someone said, yes, but it's not unusual at this time of year and for this type of building to have a groundbreaking after the building's already underway. We ran a high risk in December to have a groundbreaking, same in January and February, and we're even running a little risk now at the end of March, but this is when the administrative office of the courts wanted to have it. We have quite a large number of people invited. We hope all magistrates will be there, as well as city council people in LaGrange and other elected officials throughout the community. The Chief Justice of the Kentucky Supreme Court will be making the major speech. That's the Honorable Lawrence Van Meter. And then we'll be having, after the groundbreaking, we'll be having a reception over in the History Center Chapel building, and everybody will be invited to that. So this marks a huge step in the life of any community to have a building like this built. We hope it'll be here 100, 200 years from now, but it's here with us today, and we'll be out there and we'll be taking pictures and celebrating the initiation of this project, which will go on until about the late summer or fall of 2025. So that's at 2 p.m. next Tuesday on Main Street in front of the courthouse. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Favor, please say aye. Thank you.